our most embarrassing stories of all time, plus pineapple on your pizza. Yes or no, guys?
Hell no.
No, never.
And a free giveaway for our listeners, and it's pretty easy to enter.
Dude.
We're adults!
Starts right now. Welcome in, everybody, to the 5th episode of Dude, We're Adults. I am Brian, joined by Jason and Mike. How are you guys doing this week?
Great.
Oh,
Doing
fine.
good.
Just fine.
Just fine, just fine.
Just fine.
Are you guys watching the Oscars tonight? Mike mentioned it earlier when we got on this call. Do you guys watch that at all?
Yeah, I can't wait to hear what Hollywood has to say about our current political climate.
I'm sure you will not be disappointed, Jason.
I haven't watched the Oscars since
Yeah.
college, which, 2000? I think it was the 2002 Oscars was the last one I watched, or 2001. Somewhere, no, 2002 it had to been because it's in February.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long... I remember when I was in, when I worked in LA, I worked for a movie company, and yet I came in the day after the Oscars, and everyone's talking about the Oscars. Like, oh, did you see this movie, or did you see that movie that won, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there looking at everyone, and I'm like, was this, like, required viewing? Like, were we supposed to watch the Oscars? Like, I'm the only one who didn't. But I guess because, being in that industry, everyone who was in that industry just watched the Oscars. But yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time I watched that stuff. Yeah.
The only thing I don't want to say look forward to because this sounds weird, but I always was interested in the in memoriam part of it. But ever since, social media / Wikipedia / everything else, you kind of know who dies the moment they die.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Oscars for me used to be like, oh, that guy died or that woman died. Oh, that's sad.
And think about the Oscars this year. They're going to have a list a mile long because of who died in 2016.
Bill Paxton died today.
What?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
He was probably in his 50s, wasn't he?
61.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right now, the whole world is Googling Bill Pullman versus Bill Paxton.
I bet you Bill Pullman's sitting at home like, people probably think I'm dead right now.
Yeah, exactly. That was my joke.
I just hope his heart will go on, guys. I think his heart's gonna go on forever.
Like a twister.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was in Titanic.
Yeah.
I just remember him.
Yeah. He finally.
Yeah. No one remembers him in Titanic because he wasn't one of the people on the boat. He was on the search crew.
Yeah, he was the scavenger guy, or not scavenger. What am I talking about? Yeah, he's a scavenger. He was a pirate. No, he was the one looking for that blue diamond.
Heart of the Sea.
Yeah, the Heart of the Sea. Is that what it was called, Mike?
What else was he in?
My favorite thing that he was in was the pre-show to Twister at Universal Studios. What a great piece of work that was for the Twister ride.
Yes.
But no, he was in True Lies. He was the used car salesman. That was the fake spy. He was in Aliens. You never saw Aliens?
No, I never saw Aliens.
He was in Aliens?
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was one of the Marines in Aliens. He was in Navy SEALs.
Apollo 13. Did you see that one?
He was in Apollo,
of course.
13.
He was the guy that got sick.
Oh, of course.
On the actual, not the one that had to stay behind. But yeah.
The guy that Kevin Bacon replaced.
Right.
So did you guys get any feedback from last week's episode?
I did. Yeah. And my wife said that for the first time ever, the podcast made her laugh out loud.
Wow. And that's huge.
That's huge. She's stone cold. Just kidding. She said that Mike made her laugh out loud. I'm having a hard time remembering what the moment was, but that's an impressive feat, Mike. So good job.
Probably when I made fun of you.
Probably.
I'm glad that Sarah laughed, Jason, because to me, when she laughs, that's when I know we're doing A-okay.
A-okay.
So guys, I finished Stranger Things this past week.
Oh, what'd you think?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Jacqueline watched the first 2 episodes, and Jacqueline went, "I'm gonna go ahead and go in the room now whenever you watch this." Like she was not.
Was she not interested?
No,
Was she
she's
scared?
not. She's not really into like sci-fi stuff. Like
You
she
know
loves
what?
Homeland and
here's the thing.
Dexter. She just didn't. She wasn't into that. Just kind of sci-fi things. I loved it though. I thought it was great.
I have a theory about Jacqueline and Stranger Things.
Okay.
I
Well,
think
what?
she works at a place like the Monsters Rat, and I think she knows because she's like a rocket scientist, and she works.
That's
out-
right.
She's not a rocket scientist.
She totally is a rocket scientist, and she probably got uncomfortable.
Yeah,
She's
was
probably
like,
got
"Oh,
uncomfortable."
this is too close to home.
She's telling me
and
like,
she
"Hey,
was like,
turn it
I
off.
gotta
Turn
go.
it off."
And then we find out that they canceled Stranger Things after she left the room.
I know too much.
Yeah, she's like, "Hey, I really don't think you should be watching this. If you know what I mean. If you know what's good for you. I really don't think you should be watching this."
And by the way, Brian, that 11, she's a bitch.
I enjoyed it though. I thought the acting was really good. I love the 80s nostalgia, and I just love the music in it was great.
Yes, the
Was great.
synthesizer music when
Yeah.
they're riding their bikes at the beginning.
Do you guys have any other interesting stories or news of the week, anything like that?
Oh, I have something crazy that happened. All right, so can I tell this real quick?
Absolutely.
All right, this is a short story. So my 2 kids are Nora and Jack. I have a tape player in my Jeep. That's how old my car is.
Oh
Okay.
gosh.
I've never played a tape in my Jeep ever. On Friday, we were going through boxes in the garage, and Sarah found a box with some old tapes of hers. I have no idea what was on them, but I grabbed one of the tapes. I took it to my car, and I thought next time I'm in my car, I'm gonna like try my tape player and see what's on this tape and just see if it works. So my daughter Nora was in the car with me yesterday, and we put the tape in the tape deck. We pushed play, and it was a tape
Rent?
of my
Oh.
what?
I thought it was maybe Rent.
No, it was Sarah's tape, not Jason's.
Oh.
Sorry, Jason. Keep talking.
I'm-
That was
I'm
rude.
ignoring both of you. All right, so it was a tape of my wife Sarah as a 4 or 5-year-old reading out loud, and the story she was reading was about 2 kids named Nora and Jack.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
So she knew what she was doing.
No, she didn't give me the tape.
No, but she knew what she was doing when she was naming the kids.
I don't know. No, she didn't have. It wasn't like she came into both pregnancies with these 2 names in mind.
Oh wow.
We named Jack because Jackson is my mom's maiden name, so I was the one who brought up Jack. Like
Oh,
she didn't even
wow.
suggest it.
And then that night, you woke up and she was sitting up and her head spun around.
I feel like neither one of you actually appreciated that story.
No, I do. I was just gonna say. So, what was the story behind it? What was she reading?
It was just some kid's book from when she was 5 years old. I don't know. It was some rhyming kid's book.
Did you have
Like,
her
Would
listen
you
to
play
it?
it? No, Jason. Slowly play that tape backwards, and it's gonna be like satanic.
No, it's going to be backwards. It's going to be 525,600 minutes. That's Rent, you mother.
See, I wouldn't have known what you were talking about.
You guys suck.
Did you play it for Sarah?
No, she doesn't like my car, so she's never in my car.
And you were too scared to.
You're
because-
like, I found this cool
But
tape of
she's like,
you
"I
talking,
was
and she's like, I don't want to listen to it. It's in your car.
She,
I mean-
Roll the windows down. I won't get in.
no, she hasn't heard it.
Mike, do you have
Alright.
any? Do you have?
That's my
That's
kind of.
that's freaky. What did Nora think?
I don't think she fully understood how impressive this was. I mean, she liked hearing a kid read this rhyming story, but she didn't understand that it was her mom, and like she
Yeah.
can't reason with all of that.
Did they
But
sound
what if,
similar?
like- What if you kept listening and she was like, and then I married a man named Jason. And the next week after he heard of this, he got sodomized by an elephant.
Oh my gosh.
And then you did not go to the zoo.
How do you come up with this shit sometimes, Mike? She's like, I'm gonna go to Cal Lutheran University, where I'm gonna
find
meet
a
my
6'4"
husband.
Anglo-Saxon man
Yes, Anglo
who likes musical theater and tap and Burmese mountain dogs.
I hate you so much.
Okay, so I thought this was interesting too, and I just wanted your guys' opinion on this. Your opinion on this. That's what I almost said.
How's that wine?
Keep drinking, Brian. Yeah, exactly. Keep drinking. So the president of Iceland came out earlier last week. I guess he was at a school talking with students, and one of the students asked him about toppings on a pizza. Or granted, I have no idea why the student did this. It was probably like a second grade class or a third grade class. Jason, it would probably be like one of like 5-year-old or 6-year-old just asking random questions that you probably get every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Every
so
day.
That's a pretty valid question, actually. I mean,
so he was asked about toppings on his pizza and like what is his favorite topping on a pizza, and he answered that he was fundamentally opposed to putting pineapple on top of a pizza. Then he went one step further, announcing that he would pass a ban on pineapple as a pizza topping if he had the power to pass laws on his own. Do you guys never get pineapple on your pizza? Have you ever done that?
no, no, it's not a pizza when you put pineapple on it. It totally, honestly, I think it's not a pizza when you put too much on it. Pizza, I'm a pizza purist.
Mike, you only
Pizza
do cheese though, right?
I'll do pepperoni. I'll say pepperoni. And
Of
then
course
once
you will.
I,
Wait,
yeah, I mean, and I like sausage and I like banana peppers. But once you put all this shit on it, it's not a pizza anymore. It's this hodgepodge of nastiness, not nastiness, but hodgepodge of mess. Pineapples on a pizza, that's just this, it's not only disgusting, it just takes away it being a pizza. It's just something else. I don't even consider it pizza.
So what about
But
you're,
as
you're a
for
pretty plain
as
man with pizza, right? Though too, right?
well, I mean, just meat basically. But I would say that pineapples
You're a real
is the number.
cheese man, right?
We're not having this conversation again. I had this conversation earlier this morning with Nora, and I told her that she was the second person in this week that has told me that I love cheese. Anyway, pineapples is the third worst topping for a pizza. Oh, you would like to hear number 2 and number 1? Sure. Number 2 is onions. Onions don't belong
Oh!
on a pizza.
No, onion, I again, I don't like a lot of toppings, but onions are, I love
Yeah,
onions. Not
come
on pizza
on.
necessarily, but
That's disgusting.
Come on,
And number 1, the worst possible topping for a pizza
olives.
is olives.
Yes, I agree with that one. 100%.
Olives aren't even a food.
When
The
I
smell of olives.
Yes. When I see people eating olives, like they'll
I-
put them on their fingers sometimes and eat them off, I'm like, you people are disgusting. That's disgusting. Yeah.
it reminds me of that scene in Beetlejuice where they put the eyes on the fingers, you know, when they go to.
I need to see Beetlejuice. I've never seen that movie.
What the hell is wrong with you? You haven't seen Rocky. You haven't seen Beetlejuice. What did you do growing up? Did you sit in a room with 4 walls and stare at them and not do anything?
I watched. What movie did I watch a lot growing up? Step Monster. I watched that movie a lot growing up.
Step
watched-
Monster.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 and 2, especially the second one. That was really good. And Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey.
Wait, hold on. Let's talk about this real quick. Jason, what movies did you watch as a kid? Like, well, let's give a little background real quick. Jason, have you seen Back to the Future?
I think so.
Oh my god.
I mean, I know the plot points. I don't know that I've sat through it from start to finish, but I've seen enough
My
clips.
brain is exploding right now.
I mean, I know that it's Marty McFly and it's the white-haired scientist, and
Marty McFly.
like that if he doesn't go back in time to find his parents and make them kiss, then he won't turn into a mermaid. Or that's wait a minute, that's Little Mermaid.
Okay, Rocky. You haven't seen Rocky.
Nope. But he presumably wins his big boxing match. So
No, actually, in Rocky 1, he doesn't win his
Yeah,
big boxing
spoiler alert,
match.
match.
he doesn't win. See, like, I haven't seen...
Jason's seen a lot of more modern movies. Anything past 2000, I'd say you've seen, right?
yeah, I saw Goonies in like 2001, and I didn't like I missed the Goonies and Princess Bride. I saw too late in my life to understand
to
why
really
it's
appreciate
special.
it.
Yeah, I think the thing I probably am giving you much too hard of a time as I usually do, but I think a
Let's
big
do.
thing is you didn't have an older sibling, so
No.
you were at a disadvantage there. Where I had 3 older siblings, and I mean I've seen every '80s movie under the sun, stuff you guys would never even imagine seeing, because I would sit down in my house and I had all these Betamaxes, actually, not even VHSs. My mom, we would rent movies. We had a VHS player and a Betamax. My mom would actually she would record them, and we'd keep. We didn't sell them. That's a FBI warning. Um,
It's okay. I don't think they're coming after
Yeah,
dudes who are
exactly.
adults.
no, I would, I'd have all these videos of like just stuff we'd record, and I'd watch them over and over again. And I'm like, not even talking about the major ones like Goonies or Gremlins. I watched like Critters 3, and Girls Just Want to Have Fun with Sarah Jessica Parker.
And
I-
Rad.
Rad. Whoa,
Okay.
Trashing it. Gleaming
So,
the Cube.
Was
I
it?
mean,
I think it was Rad. Mike took me I think it was like during freshman year or sophomore year. We went over to his house because he's like, "Hey, have you ever seen Rad?" And I was like, "No, I've never seen it." And Mike was like, "Oh, there's this great nude scene in it. Like, right? Like,
No,
let's
no,
go watch."
that was Thrashing.
Thrashing,
That didn't have
Thrashing.
any nude
So
scenes.
sorry. So Thrashing. So we go over to his house, and it gets to the part, and he's like, "Oh, I heard it's coming right here," and all of a sudden it like skips and like blurs out and then like comes back and I'm like, "What the heck?" And he's like, "Oh my gosh, my mom edited it out."
Yep, when she would tape the movie, she would cut out the naked scenes. The funny thing is, like, I could see Die Hard, I could watch Platoon, I could see gory cussing, but any nudity was cut out.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's the Flashdance is the one '80s movie I have seen, and not because I love the movie, but because I figured out that R-rated movies have nakedness in it sometimes. And when my parents were gone, I fast forwarded on number 2 just so that it was a little bit fast forward, but you could still see the scene. And I discovered that they go to a strip bar at one point, and I watched that strip bar scene every time I was home alone.
Over and over and over.
Yeah, I think the
Not every time I was
raciest
home
movie
alone.
that I watched as a kid was Hot Dog. It was a skiing movie. It was like 80 skiing movies were so big in the 80s, and this was one that was super racy. And I remember mom used to let me watch it, and there were some scenes that she cut out, but some that she didn't. And now I'm thinking back at it, I was like, wow, kids today would never be able to see that stuff.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and move to our feature topic here. And so we're kind of talking about just, funny stories from our past and things like that. So we thought we would talk about the most embarrassing stories that we've ever had, whether they happen at work, whether they've happened with our wives or girlfriends or parents or friends. And so we wanted to just relive some of the worst moments of our lives or most embarrassing moments of our lives that we don't talk about very often. Do one of you gentlemen want to start out this week talking about your most embarrassing or one of your most embarrassing moments?
All right, sure, I'll start.
Okay.
I don't know that this is gonna sound as embarrassing as it felt. It was definitely a super cringe-worthy moment as it happened. Back in high school, I went out with a girl, and at the time that we went out, there was like a TV commercial on about this woman who got out of plans with a guy because she had to wash her hair. Or maybe this is like a 90s thing that was like, oh, I can't go out, I have to wash my hair. I have no idea, but it was in my head because I had seen this on TV that she used washing her hair as an excuse to get out of doing something. So I took my Ford Taurus up to her house and I picked her up. And when she got in my car, I thought I was so clever because I said, hey, I'm really excited to go out tonight. But in case you're not having a good time or you don't like want to keep going with the date, and then I open up my glove box, and when I open it up, there was a bottle of whatever shampoo. I said, you can just tell me that you need to go home and wash your hair.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh!
And I thought she was gonna laugh and like find it charming, and she looked at me like, what the does that mean? So I just closed the glove box and was like, so I think our reservation, whatever.
How was the
Drove
rest of
on.
the date?
It wasn't great.
Yeah.
I think it was one of one or maybe two that we went on, but like, how do you recover from something like that? From a stupid, like, effectively a dad joke when you're 15 or 16 years old.
Did you go buy the bottle or did you just have it
Yeah,
from home?
no, it wasn't a used bottle. I went and bought like a little travel size bottle to be like, oh, that's funny.
You
Really
know,
not fun.
you should have just went 100% with that all night. Like the whole theme of the date. They're like, "Would you like anything to eat? Like, or would you like to order?" And then you go, like, "Or would you like to wash your hair?" And you have something else in your pocket.
And pull out another bottle from your pocket.
Bottle of conditioner, bottle of body wash.
Loofah, just the whole
Just
night.
keep it going. So, Mike, what's one of your most embarrassing stories?
So when I was at Disney, it was thankfully it was one of my last weeks at the company, and I got on the elevator, and there was this high level executive on the elevator too, and I'd seen him around, and he's this well-to-do British guy, and he has this flower on his lapel, and it's a paper flower, and I'm riding the elevator, and I don't know why. Sometimes I'm just in a mood to make small talk. Sometimes in a mood to like don't even look at me. And so I look at his flower, and I go, so nice flower, and he goes, thanks, kind of somber, and I'm like, does it squirt water? And he goes, it's for people that have died. And like the elevator stops and the doors open, and he just walks off the elevator without me able to react. I found out it was some terrorist act over in Britain, I think, on the train or something, and they wore it as like a memorial.
You're like, are you a clown?
So later on, I'm talking to my coworker and I'm telling him this story, and he goes, "You should have been like, so it doesn't squirt water."
Just keep going.
Who was it? Do you know who it was?
What do you mean who it was?
The guy you said that to.
Yeah. I mean, Jason knows who he was. He was pretty high. I think he's not there anymore.
Oh,
But he
okay. I was just curious if he was like a high up executive or something like that.
I mean, he wasn't. It wasn't Bob Iger or
Okay.
you know
Yeah.
someone that notoriety. I probably well, even though I was leaving the company, I don't know. I mean, it was pretty embarrassing. I just froze and I just felt like an idiot.
I think my most embarrassing story tops your guys's by far. The reason I say that is because mine was also the most cringe-worthy moment of my life, and both of you were there for it.
Oh, I know the story.
So, a little background real quick. My brother Eric, I love him to death. I love my brother Eric. But he couldn't be on time to a function to save his life. Like, if there was somebody holding a gun to my brother's head and said, you have to be at this thing at 3 o'clock or I will kill you, he would show up at 3:15. Like, you just...
And then he'd be late to his own funeral. Come on.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing. I'm laughing. That was a good one. That was a good one. He would be probably. But he shows up to everything late. So for our wedding rehearsal, we had told everybody. I mean, we had talked about this in a prior episode, just talking about how my wife did an itinerary and had this all the events planned out. And I think we were supposed to be at my rehearsal, I think around 4:30, something like that. Well, I had told him to be there at 4 because I just know how he runs so late on everything. Well, he doesn't show up till I think it was 5. And we're running late on things, and so I go downstairs to go get him, and we're coming up the elevator and we're just kind of talking, and I'm stressed out at this point because now we're behind schedule. We don't have this place for much longer because they needed to actually set it up for an event that night, and so we're like, we got to get this rehearsal done, we got to get this rehearsal done. So my mind is running a mile a minute. We get upstairs, my brother goes up and says hi to my dad and to my mom.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike and I were not stressed because we had been drinking all day.
Was that after we went to the aviation museum too?
Mhm.
That was a fun
Mhm.
day.
That was a good day.
So
Anyway, keep going, Brian.
So he goes over, says hi to my mom and my dad, and says hi to my brother and everything. And so he goes over and says hi to Jacqueline, my soon-to-be wife at the time. And so I decide, hey, I'm going to introduce him real quick to my wife's parents. And I say, Eric, this is Lauren's parents. And this is my brother
No.
Eric. And for the listener out there, Lauren is my ex-girlfriend from college.
Whose dad didn't like you apparently.
Yeah, whose dad hated me.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it happened. My brother explained later. He's like, I really think that happened because we had been telling college stories literally the past 2 or 3 days straight, and a lot of those stories involve my ex-girlfriend because I was together with her for 4 years. So I just remember her stepmom looking at me and being like, "Who?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?"
The room
what?
felt silent.
And she-
The room
my,
and
was
my favorite part of that
No,
whole
hold on, Mike. I'll get to that.
situation-
Mike, I'll get to
Wait,
that.
wait.
Oh, Mike, I'll
My
get to that.
favorite part of
Mike,
that whole
I'll get to it.
situation.
I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll get to it. And so, so she's like, "Who?" And I'm like looking. I'm like, "What did I say?" Because I'm just so stressed at the time. I didn't even know what I said. And she's just like, "Who's Lauren?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm like, "Sorry, Jacqueline." And my brother Eric is looking at me like, "You idiot! Like, what a moron!" And like Jacqueline didn't even care. She was like stressed out with the thing too, so she didn't even care. But My favorite moment of it too is I was told later by Mike and Jason. Mike and Jason were kind of across the room when this happened, and they were with my father. And they heard this happen, and my father turned to them and said,
Uh-oh. No, I gotta. Brian's dad. I can't. Like the humor your dad had is unmatched. He had
Yeah.
the driest but most witty humor, and he kind of reminded me. Like, imagine if like someone as serious looking and his sounding is like Bob Dole, and he kind of sounded like Bob Dole in my
Mhm.
opinion. He had that like tone. It just if you were to just see him and hear him talk, like, oh, this guy's like dead serious. But then he would just pull this shit out that was so hilarious that oh. And then I remember when we were at your rehearsal dinner, and he was the one lighting all the candles on the table. Why, I have no idea. And Jason and I were kind of standing close to each other, and he leans between us with the lighter, and he goes, "Watch out!"
Yeah, my dad's a jokester, and my dad loves to mess around and everything, so it doesn't surprise me that he would try and make light of that situation. And I really, like I said, my brother explained it later. My other brother, not the brother I was introducing to her parents, but said like we'd been telling college stories literally all weekend because that's a lot of what we do when we all get together. And so we had just actually been telling stories and college stories that had involved her, gosh, I think that day earlier, and so it just kind of slipped out. But yeah, that was probably the most embarrassing time ever because I was like, "Oh my gosh, my wife is gonna kill me." But she really didn't even care. Like had no, because she was just it's like stressed out with the event and everything was fine. And I've never done that since or ever even thought to do that since. But yeah, that was probably the most embarrassing moment of my life. Right, the day before I get married, call your soon-to-be bride your ex-girlfriend, and yeah, that's
I was
a good job, Brian. Good job.
I was just like that scene in Friends. I was just like, God, I hope I don't do that. That would just be awful. Things are more. It's funny how things are different when you're older. Like when you're older, things are more embarrassing in a different way. Because
Yeah.
when you're younger, things are embarrassing because you think you're gonna get in trouble for some reason. Like it's a big deal. But when you're older, things are embarrassing because like you have more humility. Not humility. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's
Well, and I
just
think when
you
you're
have more
younger, you
shame.
think it's going to cost you friends, and you're not going to be cool anymore, and everyone's going to make
Yeah.
fun of you for it. Yeah.
So I have one younger story, and I'll make this quick. But when I was in 5th grade, we went on a week outdoor camping thing, and we were all in cabins and stuff, and we went to some like woodsy type of place. And I remember I was in the cabin, and for some reason I was so happy because I was with the cool kids cabin, and I thought it was awesome. And at the time I didn't think I was a cool kid, but I somehow was. We all grouped together, and I got in their cabin, so I was like trying to be on top of everything, trying to act cool. And I remember I was getting ready to go to bed one night, and I had these boxers that were Miami Hurricane boxers. Why I had them, I totally don't even remember. I think when we were all younger, we just liked random teams. I like the Hornets for some reason, even though I like
Yeah,
Boston
everybody
teams.
liked the Hornets. Yeah.
Just Larry Johnson
Yeah.
and Lonzo Mourning and
Yep.
Muggsy Bogues. But I had these.
Right, Jason?
Yeah, right, right.
Jason had Michael Flatley boxing. I'm done on that.
I'm
So I
done
had
on
these-
that. Oh, okay, good. Thanks. I'm so glad you're done on making fun of me again.
I had these Miami Hurricane boxers, and this kid was like, "Oh, those are cool, like Miami Hurricane." I was like, "Yeah." So later that night, I'm in bed. And
That's what the conversation gets us up in your fifth
Yeah!
grade.
That was it.
Jumped in
High
the air with the fist.
We high five. That's the end of the story. So I go to bed. Gotta go to bed content with my boxer choice, because the cool kids think they're cool. And I thought I had a fart, and it turned out to be a shit. I sharted, or had a Hershey squirt, if you will, whatever. You
Oh
want to
my
call it.
God, stop.
I'm in my sleeping bag, and I'm like, oh shit. I was terrified because the cool kids are gonna find out I just crap my pants in the cool kid cabin, and I would be forever uncool.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So
You
all
think
I
you're
can
going to be
do is I
banished.
gotta take care of this situation. So I get out of the sleeping bag, I run down to the bathroom, I take off the underwear before I get out of the cabin because it was messy. So I'm running down naked to the bathroom because the bathroom's not in the cabin. It's like what felt like a mile, but probably was like 100 feet down a little hill. I get to the cabin, I clean up. I had an extra pair. I was smart enough to bring an extra pair of underwear with me. I put those on. I walked back to the cabin, and I still have the dirty underwear in my hand. And I'm like, crap! And I just chuck them. And so the next morning I wake up, and the kid's like, what happened to the Miami Hurricane boxers? I didn't have like the social grace to be like, oh, I was sweaty, so I changed them. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I totally just denied. And all I was worried about the entire trip was someone would be like, hey, are those your boxers in the bushes?
So no one ever found them?
I mean, maybe like, I don't know, if someone found them later, some counselor was probably like, oh, God, what is this? And I thought I was going to get in trouble or something as like a...
Why would you get in
10-year-old.
trouble for shitting your pants?
When you're 10, you don't know what you're going to get in trouble for and what you're not. I don't know.
Okay, so going along with that real quick, we have a listener email. So it's interesting, Mike, that you brought up that story about your boxers, because this is kind of an interesting email. It's from Lynn, and she says, hey guys, have you ever considered discussing the awkwardness of sharing a hotel room with a guy friend? Who sleeps on the top sheet? Who gets under the covers? Which one needs to turn his boxers around so they'll fit backwards?
Jason knows exactly why I'm laughing at this email. Is this real? Is this a real email, Brian? Are you serious, or is this staged?
I'm reading it. And she says, thanks, Lynn from California.
One of my favorite stories of Jason's is right along those lines. Come on, Jason, share.
Why don't you tell it as you remember it, and I'll tell you how true it is or is not.
Or
Okay,
is
this is
not.
how I remember it. And I have to use truths in here, so you can't say I'm making fun of you, Jason.
Just use different names for the people involved.
Yeah, protect
Okay.
the innocent.
Okay, so Jason went to theater camp.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. It was not theater camp. Somebody that we went to school with was nominated for an award for acting, and he needed a scene partner, so I went along as his scene partner. That was it. Keep going.
That makes it sound so much
that
better.
Makes it so much better.
Jason went along as his partner.
Jason
everyone.
was staying at a Best Western with his scene partner.
Yeah.
And where were you, like San Bernardino or something?
Yep.
Oh, wow, I remember that part. I didn't remember the theater camp part, but I remembered you were in San Bernardino. And you were staying at a Best Western or La Quinta Inn or whatever it was. And this guy that was your scene partner, let's call him...
Who was nominated for an award.
Yeah. Let's call him David Spade. And... Jason knows why that's funny. No one else listening does. Let's call him David Spade. So Jason had to spend the night with David. And prelude to this story was they actually had a little incident in Jason's basement. Or no. Dave,
What is going on right now?
No. There was no incident. Let me stop you right there and say there was no incident. It's not like we had a history.
Did he or did he not touch your leg while you were watching Love Connection?
Oh my gosh.
Did he or did he not touch your leg?
He touched my leg on the way to Arby's before we watched Love Connection. When we watched Love Connection, I was on the other side of the room, and then oh damn it, we only watched Love Connection because he liked old game shows, and that just happened to be what was on.
Okay, so yes, he touched your leg on the same.
Yeah,
night
so
you
all
watched
I heard
Love
about
Connection.
that was he touched your leg. All right, go on.
So anyways, they're at the hotel, and Jason goes under the covers, and he goes, hey, and then Dave, whatever you want to call him, goes under all covers, because there's the top cover and the sheet. Jason goes in between the top cover and the sheet. And Jason goes, I'm just going to go in between these two. And Dave goes, okay. So he pulls the sheet down and goes on the same level as Jason. So
That
you guys
happened.
nice and snugly.
No, I moved again. He insisted, but I finally over insisted that he pick a level and then I would adjust based on his level, and that's what happened. And there were also like 12 other people in that hotel room that night because They were all there for acting camp.
So, but Jason, did anyone turn their boxers around?
I've never heard what that's about.
I've
What
heard
does that
something
mean?
about that. That sounds familiar, doesn't it, Mike?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so Mike, one time in a hotel room to which he and I were sleeping in, turned his boxers. Okay, so the story is my ex girlfriend had come out to visit me with her friend.
She was your girlfriend at the time.
Yeah,
not your
yeah,
ex.
my girlfriend at the time had come out to visit me during the summer with Mike and her friend, and they stayed at a hotel nearby my house. Well, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna stay at the hotel with them," but to make sure I stayed pure in the eyes of the Lord, I
Jeez.
slept
Right,
in
Joel Osteen.
I slept with Mike in Mike's bed while the girls
Yes,
were in
wait,
their
let's
bed.
back that up.
I slept with
You're
Mike.
you're in the eyes of the Lord. I slept with Mike.
So I slept in Mike's bed. Well, come to find out, Mike had turned his boxers around backwards while we were
So
in
no-
the same bed. Mike, why did you turn your boxers around?
So nothing would fall out.
But doesn't that leave it open for something else to happen?
Sick.
I I didn't want to have a sword fight, first of all.
This is.
But it was
Dude, we are juveniles.
it was pretty. We're adults. Come on, guys. Come on. Act like adults here. But it was pretty funny because when we woke up in the morning, or maybe it was that night, but it was just like, oh, we gave Mike such hell because it was like, why in the world did you turn your boxers backwards? We thought it was.
It's a
pretty
good thing
funny.
I didn't shit my pants, because then it would have got on the bed.
Yeah, good thing that story didn't happen then. Well, that's gonna do it for our most embarrassing stories. I'm sure we'll come back to this topic because we do
No,
have
we
other.
won't. We don't need to. We don't ever have to come back to this.
You still talk to David Spade, Jason?
Occasionally. He didn't win the award, by the way.
Oh.
He was stiffed.
I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you.
Alrighty, and our last segment this week, we're actually going to talk about the top 3 concerts we've ever been to. And just knowing these two guys for the last, oh my gosh, almost 20 years, we've been to concerts together with each other, and I know that all 3 of us separately have been to a ton of concerts. So I was just kind of interested what our top 3 concerts were, and I'll go ahead and start this off, guys. So my number 3 top concert that I've ever been to, and I thank my dad for this to this day for getting us tickets to this at the last minute. He sent my brother and I in 1999, I think it was, to go see Eric Clapton, and
Oh, wow.
it was amazing. Like that
Now,
guy.
Did he do acoustic Layla or electrical guitar Layla?
Oh my
Because I
gosh.
love the electrical guitar Layla.
I think it was electrical Layla, but what he would do is he would do almost like 4 or 5 minute solos and then lead into the songs. Like he'd be doing a solo and you're like, this is awesome, and then all of a sudden the song would start. Like it just led in perfectly to these songs. It was Eric Clapton was just amazing. That was shortly after I think that movie Phenomenon came out with John Travolta. And
Phenomenon. Do, 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 do.
yeah,
Phenomenon. Do, 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 do.
best thing
not
is-
that one.
Yes, go on.
And so he went on tour because he had just came out with Father's Eyes, that song, for the movie, and it was an amazing concert. I would recommend going to see Eric Clapton to anybody. My second concert. Go ahead.
Yeah, fine. But like, isn't it about 90 minutes in? Aren't you like, oh, more white guy and guitar?
No,
like,
no, it's
no?
not.
Okay.
He put on a show. Like he just doesn't
No?
he just
Okay.
doesn't stand there the whole time and just do, like not do anything. Like he was good. He talks to the crowd a lot. Like the band that he has is really good. Like it was
Did they do the
it was
piano-
a good job.
Did they do the piano solo from Layla? That last 2-minute piano
Yes,
solo.
they did.
It-
Yes, they did.
probably one of my favorite pieces of music.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like just purely amazing, and just amazing music as well. My number 2 is a tie, and it was so a good friend of mine in high school. His dad used to work for Budweiser, and he would get tickets to literally any concert that was happening at the House of Blues or the Joint at the Hard Rock. And so
Oh, cool.
I literally went to a concert every week or every other week from 1990, I want to say 8 to 2000. Just any concert. I mean, he would literally say, "Okay, this week which one do we want to go to?" And we would go to those concerts. And I saw Kid Rock in 2000.
Oh,
And
nice.
it was Kid Rock shocked me because I only knew him from one album as really this like rapper kind of ball that it was a Devil Without a Cause album.
I'm
But
going
he-
platinum.
Yeah, but he
Sorry.
was actually
Can't
really.
stand Kid Rock.
He was actually well, and so he was actually really talented. Though he played the guitar, he played the keyboards, he played the drums. Like it was actually really impressive. He had these two strippers that were up on these poles. Like it was just
They had great voices.
yeah, exactly. They sang too, and yeah, it was just a great concert. Power Man 5000 opened up for them. It was just a really good concert.
Oh my gosh.
But the other concert that was just on par with that one was also I saw Bush in 2000, and Bush was amazing. They played one of the longest concerts I've ever been to. Like they played so many songs, they played all their hits. That was at the Hard Rock too. So that's my number 2. And my number 1, this won't be a surprise to you guys. For the listener out there, I am a huge Goo Goo Dolls fan. I think I have actually lost track of how many times I've seen them. I think I saw them this past December, and I think it was my 20th time that I've seen them. But my number 1 best concert of all time was in 1998 when I saw the Goo Goo Dolls at the Hard Rock, and that was right after Dizzy Up the Girl / Iris came out, and so they had just literally became monstrumental and a huge act at that time. And they played, as you guys know, I love their old stuff, and they played a ton of old stuff, which I absolutely loved. And so that was just a great concert. One of the probably first, I don't know, 5 concerts I've ever been to in my life, and I'll always remember that concert. They just did a phenomenal job, and in 1998 when they were just on top of the world. So those are my top 3. What about you guys?
You had like 6 concerts in there.
I had 4 total. 4 total.
Yeah. So my number 3 would, don't get mad at me, Jason, would probably be when I saw Aerosmith, and
get mad
I
at me.
was very lucky because I knew someone who had a lot of money that was not me, and they got us front row seats, or not even seats, standing to Aerosmith. This was back in 2006 or so, and leading up to the concert, you know, as we've discussed, Jason's like the biggest Aerosmith fan, and I told Jason where the seats were, and I thought he was gonna murder me because they were basically right on the stage. And I said, I cannot wait for them to play What It Takes, which is my favorite Aerosmith song off of Pump. And Jason's like, they're not going to play What It Takes. I've seen them 6 times. They play one power ballad, and every time I've seen them, it's been Don't Want to Miss a Thing, which I don't like Don't Want to Miss a Thing, because as I mentioned, I don't like anything Aerosmith has done. I know you do, Jason. I don't, past 1998. Get a Grip and Pump are 2 of the best albums, but after that, not a fan. So I kind of was dejected, but whatever, I'm still seeing them so close. Not only did I get to touch Joe Perry's guitar when he was doing a solo to Amazing, which is an amazing song, he was down on his knees doing a solo, and I got to touch his guitar and hit the chords as he was pointing to which chords to hit.
You did not. You're making
I
this up.
swear to God on my life, he was right there.
Jason
I
was so mad, everyone.
You played Joe Perry's
I
guitar.
didn't play his guitar. He was hitting the E string, and I like was hitting it. Like he was like, "Nah," and he like pointed to me to hit it. I'm serious.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
I swear to God on my life.
And then he
I was
unzipped his
right
pants and said, "Hey, touch this."
Yeah. And then they went right into, I don't know if it was right after that. At some point in the concert, he started singing What It Takes. He started singing it a cappella. He went, "There goes my old girlfriend." I was like, holy shit. So I called Jason, all excited. Jason hangs up on me and didn't talk to me for like 3 days.
I was sitting at home in our quiet apartment reading the Da Vinci Code all by myself.
Oh
My
god.
phone rings, and it's you at the Aerosmith concert playing the one song that has eluded me for the 7 concerts I'd been to up until that point. So, I'm sorry. Did I hurt your feelings?
Yeah.
Did-
Let me call Jason right now. This will end well.
And I'm like, how could you top that? But I mean, I don't know. That the other 2 concerts, they have a special place in my heart because of who I went with. Number 2, and this is number 2, not because of who we saw or the songs that he played.
It was when we went to Disturbed, right?
No,
Is that what you meant? Oh.
I went and saw Rod Stewart,
Yes! Yes!
Jason. We went to see him at, what was it? What was that?
Did he
what's
play
the-
Maggie
Nokia?
May? Did he play
Staples?
Maggie May?
Of
It
course
was
he
this-
played Maggie
Oh,
May.
I love that
It was at
song.
Staples. But
It
you
was
have
at-
to just you have to describe like the setting because that's what made this concert so unreal.
Because it was me and Jason, and we were in a sea of 60-year-old people.
Yeah.
We got the tickets because actually my ex-girlfriend, and she was at my ex at the time, was like, oh, I got extra tickets. Do you want them? I'm like, sure. And I called Jason, and Jason was like, hell yeah, I want to see Rod
Hell yeah,
Stewart.
that's awesome. Rod Stewart. Heck yeah.
And it was a sea of 60-plus-year-old people, and they didn't have a mosh pit or anything like that, obviously. We sat in
Really?
fold-out chairs in the Staples Center, like on like the where the court would be, where the Lakers or Kings play. Jason,
Right,
do you want to chime in?
because yeah, what was so weird about this concert was that it was a concert for people who owned suites at the Staples Center. So there was only probably maybe 200,
okay.
maybe
Yeah.
200 people invited. So we are in this cavernous Staples Center, and there's only maybe 150 folding chairs set up on the floor,
Oh wow.
and everything else is dark. There's only just the few of us, and freaking Rod Stewart like 10 feet away. It was bizarre.
And he's like telling stories. He pulls up a picture of him in his underwear in his house. Like, my wife snapped this picture. And we're like, what the hell is going on? But we were like cracking up the entire night because it was so random and so funny. Then after the concert, Jason and I got into Here's Your Mind Car, I forget. And we started blasting Rod Stewart. And we're singing like, you're in my heart, you're in my soul. And then my ex-girlfriend with her mom is driving and sees us blasting this song and like singing at the top of our lungs. And she just starts shaking her head like, now I know why I broke up with this idiot. And it was
Did they play? Did he
amazing.
play Forever Young too?
Yeah, he played
know
all
that's
of
cliche,
That's all
but-
he played. Forever Young. My favorite was what's the one? I think it's You're in My Heart, You're in My Soul. I don't know what the name is. I forget the name of the song. You're ageless, you're timeless. Oh, whatever. My number 1 concert was actually Collective Soul, and it was my number 1 concert
oh, cool.
because I saw them at a very small venue in Agora Hills. I can't even remember the name of the venue. Actually.
You called me during this concert.
Yes, and they were playing. They played every single song that I loved, and they have a ton of songs. They
Canyon
played.
Club?
Yes, the Canyon Club.
Yep.
They played Run. They played No More, No Less. They played Shine, obviously, but they played Compliment. Compliment's my favorite
Mhm.
Collective Soul song, and I walked in there knowing they're not going to play that. There's no way they're going to play that, and they played it. And I don't know what song it was he was singing, but Ed Roland, again, Jason, like, you're lying, but maybe you'll believe this slightly more. Ed Roland, the singer of Collective Soul, leaned forward, and I was up close, and I held on to his knees as he was singing, and I was like, oh my
Hold on
God.
to his-
What? Do you understand how to go to concerts?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you
What's
mean?
this guy doing?
He was like leaning forward, and I was helping hold him up, and a couple other people were like, he was like leaning into the crowd, and he knew the crowd was going to hold him up as he was singing, and I was like holding his knees, and I think the fact that they just sang every one of the songs that I hoped they'd sing, because usually when you see a band, you're hoping they play a few of the songs that you really love, minus the hits they play, but you have those like songs that they have that you love that you're pretty sure they're not going to sing, and they ended up singing it, and it just made my night. It was amazing.
I saw them this past summer with the Goo Goo Dolls, and they were awesome. I love Collective Soul. Good job, Mike. All right, Jason, what about you?
All right. As you guys have been talking and telling your top 3 concerts, I've been revising my list so that I'm not just repeating you over and over, because so many of the shows that you guys mentioned or the bands that you guys mentioned have been on my list, and I feel like I've been to so many shows that they're, the top 3, it's hard to discern, one from the other. So here's my revised list after you guys have shared yours. Number 3 would be from 2002, the Pop Disaster Tour in Irvine. It was 3 bands. It was Jimmy Eat World when they were like a big thing, and then it was Blink-182, followed by Green Day.
That's
Oh,
a sweet.
okay.
That's
that's
amazing.
I think I might have went to that tour with my brother, actually. One of the first
Well,
ones.
yeah, I was the least cool person there. I wore khakis and a gray sweater. and sat
Yes,
on the
you
lawn.
were.
and I was the only person not wearing.
Did you
black
have like
because
New Balance shoes on too?
Oh, I'm certain I had New Balance shoes on. It was the first time I'd ever seen pot brownies and people eating pot brownies. It was a trip, but no, that was a great show.
Blink 182 is so good live. Oh man.
Yeah, it was one of those. Have you guys ever had this where you go to a show and you know and are kind of a fan of the artist, and then you see the show and you're like, oh man, they're amazing, and then you go and then you become a fan, like, and you get deeper into their sets, and then you're like, well, I wish this had happened the other way around, so I would have appreciated the show more, because that totally happened with all three of those bands. Well, not Jimmy Eat World, because I don't really care about them, but the other two bands.
Jimmy Eat World's good. I love Sweetness. That was a sick song.
Okay, cool. Number two. Sorry, Mike. Number two, my dad had tickets and my stepmom couldn't go with him at the last minute. So at the last second, he invited me to go with him to drive up to San Francisco to see Everclear open for Metallica.
Oh.
And this was at AT&T Park where the Giants
I remember
play.
this.
And then Metallica opened for the Rolling Stones.
Yes, I remember this. Oh.
And I mean, the set list for all three acts was exactly what you'd hoped it would be.
It's like Metallica and Rolling Stones are such greatness. They have Everclear, who I love, but it's just so
Everclear.
random.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And my dad is a pastor, and he's pretty obviously straight-laced, but he does love classic rock. And at one point, the guy in front of him was smoking a joint and turned around and was like, "Hey, man, you want to hit some of this?" And my dad goes, "Oh, no thanks, no thanks." Pretty great moment.
Sorry, folks, work's closed.
And then my number one show actually happened. It was the most recent show I've seen, and this show was one of the best moments of my whole life. I saw Coldplay at Levi Stadium just last summer, and it was 70,000 people. I told you guys this last week. They gave everybody an RFID wristband that lit up in unison, or either all in was as one color or flashed, different colors. And as they went through and I love Coldplay. I don't know if you guys do or not, but as they went through all of their major hits, like for some of the songs, instead of drums, they would use pyro and fireworks as the beat for their songs, while 70,000 RFID wristbands lit up. They used, it was the most visually incredible show I've ever seen. Plus, if you're a Coldplay fan and they play all these hits, I went berserk. And they're coming back to the Bay Area again next fall, and I'm really thinking about buying tickets because why? I want to go again.
Coldplay, yeah, I would love to see Coldplay. And like you mentioned, Metallica too. I just actually saw on the drive home Metallica's playing Phoenix in August. And I have to get tickets to go see that. They're on my bucket list too. And I remember when you went to go see that concert, I was like, oh my gosh, Metallica and Rolling Stones. How amazing would that have been?
Doesn't get better than that.
Yeah. So that'll do it for our top 3 this week. Thank you, gentlemen, for giving me your input. And it's giveaway time. Well, it's an announcement of a giveaway that we want to do here on Dude, We're Adults. All you have to do, it's really easy for you listeners out there. Go on to iTunes and leave a review, and you'll be automatically entered to win one of 2 prizes we are giving away. We have a gift card to Payway, and we have another 2 movie tickets to give away to Regal Cinemas. So just go on there, leave reviews, and we'll announce the winners next week here on the show. It's that easy. That's all you guys have to do. Just leave a short review. It better be 5 stars too. If I see someone leave a 1-star review and says give me free movie tickets,
then we'll have Mike make fun of him next week.
Yes, exactly. And you do not want that. Just ask Jason.
Last 10 years of my life.
Yeah. So, anyways, that'll do it for this week's Dude, We're Adults. We thank you all for joining us this week. Do you guys have anything to go home? I don't have a life tip of the week. Does anyone have a life tip of the week? Jason?
Well, I got something to tell you guys.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I'm feeling well. I think I have a fever. I have Oscar fever. Go Manchester by the Sea, right, Mike? I'm a homer. Take home the gold.
Doesn't work as well when you try to make fun of me.
It doesn't. But I'm gonna keep trying.
It worked well. I like that. Jason's the joke king of this podcast, so I'm glad we got one of those in this week. Keep it up, Jason. Keep it up.
All right.
So, anyways, that'll do it for our podcast this week. Thank you all for joining us. Please If you want to send us an email, send us an email at dudewe'readults, no apostrophe in that we're at gmail.com. And you can also find us at Twitter at dudewe'readults. Again, no apostrophe in that we're. With that being said, have a good week, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
See ya.